Melanoma is the most dangerous type of skin cancer and is the leading cause of death from skin disease. In fact, melanoma kills one person every hour, but it's also preventable. Former Pittsburgh Steelers football coach and CBS studio analyst Bill Cowher has joined the Melanoma Exposed Campaign to raise awareness of melanoma and encourage Americans to take a more active role in their skin health. And he joins us this morning along with Dr. Elizabeth Hale, Clinical Associate Professor of Dermatology at New York University. Good morning, Bill. The Melanoma Exposed Campaign is very personal for you. Can you tell us why?
Yeah, it is, Christine, and I appreciate you having us on here this morning. 2 years ago, I lost my wife to melanoma at a premature age of 53, and also within being in the coaching profession, Jimmy Johnson, longtime defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles, he lost his life to melanoma. And you know, I think the message, what we're trying to send out here, is just an awareness of how deadly melanoma can be. And if you go to melanomaexposed.com, you can find a lot of the information that we're going to be talking about here today. You know, number one, it's a very simple approach. Number one, we were asking people to get screened. And I know that Albuquerque is a place that's got so much sun every day of the year. It's one of the highest per rate capitals. I mean, I don't think you have over 300 days of sunshine a year. So getting screened is very, very important, and creating a baseline. The second thing is protection. You know, I coached for so many years, being on a football field. You know, you go to places where you're skiing and you're outside doing outside activities. Getting protection, using the right amount of sun protection, using, making sure you have a wide brim hat on, sunglasses, and just making sure you're doing the things, staying out of tanning beds. I know it's not a problem in Albuquerque, but nationwide it is. And those are the things that when you're doing activities outside, is to make sure you're using the right protection, whether it's with what you're wearing, but also with skin protection. And then knowing what to look for. I think that's the other thing. Knowing what to look for with your body, and knowing how dangerous melanoma can be. Men are twice as likely to die from melanoma as women.
I don't think they're as aware,
not as mindful. Yeah, and they're not as mindful. I think they have this macho image, and a lot of times it's men over 40, and I think at that point, they got to be a lot more aware of their bodies, and we're trying to tell as many people as we can, send that message out to be proactive, because melanoma, when it's discovered early and uncovered early, is almost always curable. Once it enters your body, it's lethal and deadly, and that's a message we're trying to send to the public.
Right, so you want to prevent it before it happens. So you think that the reason why more men are suffering is because they don't put on the sunscreen? Because you think about women going to tanning beds and stuff like that, so that just seems so odd.
So there actually are two peaks when you look at the incidence of melanoma, and you're absolutely right. When we're looking at women who get exposure to tanning beds and who get those sunburns, there's definitely a peak in young women. In fact, melanoma is a leading cause of cancer-related death in women under the age of 30. What happens then, and after about age 40, we see this even more dramatically, the incidence then takes over in men, and men, as Coach Cowher mentioned, are twice as likely to die from melanoma. We think it's because, you're absolutely right, they're not protecting themselves, but also, and probably more importantly, they're not coming in to get screened. Because if we could get people in the dermatologist's door to get screened, then we have that capability to detect the melanoma while it's still curable. So we know that more women are being diagnosed in their younger years, men in their later years, but at the stage of diagnosis, it is more advanced in those men, and that's why they are dying more. So check out melanomaexposed.com, see the signs you can look for in your moles, find a dermatologist near you where you can be checked, because melanoma can be completely curable.
Now, at what stage does melanoma turn deadly?
So just briefly, when melanoma is caught early, that means when it's confined to the top of the skin, it's considered close to 99% curable. Once it starts invading down, and we're talking in fractions of a millimeter even, and then a millimeter and beyond, that's when it gains access to blood vessels, lymphatic vessels, and that's when it can spread through the body. At that point, once it has spread, we think the 5-year survival rate is about 15%, which is really dismal. So again, catch it early and try to cure people, prevent melanoma by protecting yourself, catch them early so people are not going to die as much as they are from melanoma.
Get screened, Christine.
I will. You know, you said it, 300 days of sunlight out here, and, you know, the sun is very strong here in New Mexico. Thank you so much, Bill and Dr. Hale, for being on this morning. Very good information. All right, get your kids moving this morning. We're going to be talking about this summer. We're going to be talking about that, and we're talking about pizza parties too. Coming up next on New Mexico Style.